right, thanks for all the chaos. All right, I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest streaming and video on-demand horror movies, and sometimes the ones in a theater. Yay! Each week, my co-hosts, Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, Christopher G. Mohr, and myself will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. It's that time of year again. We are counting down our top 10 horror movies of 2023. Ooh. Each of us have our own top 10. So we are dying to get into those. Yeah. Okay. So, but before we get into everything, let me introduce my crew, starting off with Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Excellent.
Yay! Also joining us this week is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl. How you doing, Crystal?
I'm great, but has Jeff been switched with the body snatcher? So I don't know. I don't know about that, Jeff.
I've been wondering that for weeks.
I like that shirt though. That's cool. Super cool.
Anyway, so joining us is award-winning filmmaker.
Looking right over the edge.
Oh dear, Christopher G. Mohr. Christopher, how you doing, sir?
2023 is going to be with the maggots soon.
Nice. And of course, we'd love to welcome our guest host, author, and part of the New York City Horror Film Festival, Brian W. Smith. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me back. This is one of my favorite episodes to be on. So.
Yeah, this is the best one.
So you brought your count, right? You brought them, right? All right.
It's been morphing all week.
It morphed minutes before I turned everything on. Yeah, I keep changing it left and right. It'll probably change after we record this, and I'll cry. All right, what we're going to do is each of us are going to count down our 10 to 1 on our top 10 horror films of 2023. These are, as Crystal was discussing before the show, when they're released in the United States, so some of them might feel like they're 2022s or even 2021s. But if we reviewed it or if it came out in the States in 2023, it's eligible. So let's get into it. But before we do, we hope you enjoy this episode. And if you do, please hit the like, subscribe, and share with a friend.
Yeah.
Each click will help us find more horror fans just like you.
Yep.
And for those that have been doing so, thank you so much.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's start off with our guest, Brian W. Smith. Give it to us. What is your top 10 of 2023?
All right. I promise I'll keep it brief. My top 10, if it's okay, I do have a couple of TV shows included.
Perfect.
So my number 10 is Slasher Ripper. I'm just a big fan of the show, and
nice.
Every time I tell horror fans you got to check out Slasher, they always balk. I'm like, it's a mean show, it's bloody, it's gory. I really enjoy that. Number 9, The Fall of the House of Usher.
Of course.
I'm a fan again, a Flana fan or whatever. But I think the two kind of go hand in hand. It has that sort of style of like the slasher series, and that it's episodic, and that there's a body count per episode, which I like. Number 8, in Talk to Me, which I thought was a really interesting premise, and I've always longed for the return to stupid horror movie teenagers doing things I would never do in real life. So I just get to sit back and watch them do all the creepy supernatural shenanigans, and I can just sit back and watch all the consequences. So I enjoyed the performances. I thought it was really well made and well directed. Number 7, I had to throw in Brooklyn 45, Ted Gegen's film. I was really impressed with just the way it was structured, the way it was directed. I liked the writing. It's so different. It felt so different from a lot of his other work. So it was, and I know some of the cast members personally, so it was kind of cool to see them on screen. And I was really impressed with that, and I hope more people get to see it. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. I'll probably be alone here, but I threw in Scream 6. I'm a Scream fan, and today, as we're recording, is actually the 27 years since the original. So if they make another one, I will probably have to go see it. But I enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't as good as I would say Scream 5, But some of the films that I put on this list were more in terms of like how I was affected by it, and I think the opening scene with Mara Weaving really bothered me. So, and on a horror sense, that was pretty effective, and I kept it on my list. I still think about that scene. Number 5, Saw 10.
Yeah.
Socks.
Socks.
I'm not the biggest Saw fan. Or you know, I mean, I've seen them, I've watched them, I've binged them, and they all, after a while, it's like putting your head near a blender and just for 8 hours. But this one really got me to. I was like, I actually feel sympathy for our main villain, and I thought it was well structured. I didn't know the plot going in, so I felt what they wanted me to feel as I was going in. I was like, oh, these people brought it on themselves. So I just sat back and enjoyed that. Number 4, When Evil Lurks. I really enjoyed this director's other film, Terrified, and that was one of those films that whenever people asked about, what to watch on the Shudder, I would tell them to watch Terrified. And When Evil Lurks, I think it was one of those films that I was just like, yeah, you just experience it, and it either entertains you or it'll just bring you down. But it's got some really gruesome imagery and some memorable moments. Number 3, the 3, 2, 1 are where I kind of struggled back and forth. The 3 I had to throw it in, Evil Dead Rise. The creature at the end really won me over. I like I wasn't expecting it to go that far, and it went further. It was fun. It was as dark as like the remake, that sort of the reboot, but it also knew how to have fun as well with the gore, and it knew what part of the series it was, and gave some laughs, and that twisted humor that I think horror needs every once in a while, just to make it entertaining and bloody and mean. Number 2, I shocked myself too. Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Again,
Okay.
in terms of like the torture movies and stuff like that, I'm not the biggest Eli Roth fan. I've seen his films, and once is usually enough. But Thanksgiving, I saw it twice. I really enjoyed it. It gave me set pieces that I think, in a lot of ways, the Scream 6 film or even Scream 5 haven't. Well, Scream 5 was good, but Scream 6 didn't really give me a lot of the sort of drawn out set pieces and chase scenes that I really want from a slasher film, and Thanksgiving gave me a lot of that stuff, and it wasn't overly reliant on just making nods to other things. It was its own holiday horror film, and it was mean and gruesome and fun and fast paced, and I really enjoyed it. So that would have been my number 1, I guess. But then little Beastie from Japan showed up and stole the thunder. So Godzilla Minus One, I got to throw in there just for the way it's winning people over, and just what they were able to do with its budget. If it's 15 million or less than, I'm hearing less than from the director. I don't know. Just visually, it really calls to mind, like, there's some Jaws elements and the Spielbergian elements, but Godzilla really brings Godzilla into the current times, even though it's set in the past. But it's probably the scariest Godzilla I've ever experienced on a big screen, and it really was a fantastic big screen experience. And I hear that there might be re-releasing a new version, like without color or something like that. I don't know. Look for that, I guess. But any chance to see it on big screen, I recommend Godzilla Minus One. And I'll just run through my, if it's okay, honorable mentions.
Yep.
I threw in Renfield. It was a toss-up between that and the Meter film. But I threw it in. It was fun, and it's worth it more just for seeing the uncanny valley of Nicolas Cage as Bela Lugosi. I never thought that would work. And visually, in the black and white, and those moments, I was like, I want to see Bela Lugosi films remade as Nicolas Cage. Just reenacting those scenes. I threw in I actually just finished watching it. No One Will Save You. It's a sci-fi film, sort of a home invasion, alien invasion film, and I thought it was really interesting. I'd heard all this great buzz about it online. I wanted to check it out, so I finally got to see it and check it out. And I'll throw in Megan. Whatever. It's
whatever.
I threw it in only. I'm throwing it in only because just before this call, I was reminded it was even this year. But it was. I thought it was a fun. It's PG-13. It could have been a little. Was it PG? No, it was R.
No, it was PG-13.
It was PG-13.
They made an unrated version there.
Yep.
They made an unrated. Yeah, but I look, it got people. Anything that gets people excited to go to the movies and make it an event. It wasn't exactly like Barbenheimer numbers, but it got people excited about this dancing doll, and everyone was curious about it, and you know what you're getting into when you see a killer doll movie. So I thought it was pretty fun. It'd be interesting to see where they go in the next one. And yeah, that's my list. A lot of good stuff this year. There's a lot of stuff I'm still catching up on, but these were the ones that really stood out for me, and in terms of like moments that I still remember. So
perfect list, perfect. Jeff Mohr, you're up next. What is your top 10 for 2020?
Well, I'm flaunting the rules here right off the bat.
Oh, do it.
So number 10, I couldn't decide. I didn't want to leave any of these off. So number 10 is a three-way tie for Saw X, Brooklyn 45, and Cocaine Bear.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
I friggin' love Cocaine Bear. All right. Brian already talked about the first two. Cocaine Bear I just thought was great. I mean, actually, really and truly, the foundation of it based on a true stories. And they just had a great bunch of fun. So, number 9, Birth, Rebirth.
Oh, nice.
Because I love me some Marin, Ireland, and I like the story, and it was creepy. Number 8, No One Will Save You. Again, because I like the lead, and I forget the lead's name right now. Anybody else? All right, I'll look it up.
No, I never remember that.
I love her. She was on Justified, and I loved her when she was on that, and she's continued to on with her career.
Caitlin Dever.
Yes. Number 7, Talk to Me. A fun flick that I actually went to in the theater. I don't go to the theater that much, and it had a lot of hype, and I think it mostly lived up to it. Number 6, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, because we've been talking about this. Like, when are they going to do a movie based on that voyage instead of just showing Renfield he-ing up from the hold of the ship when he gets to London? And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Number 5 might be a bit of a surprise. Freaks versus the Reich.
Oh, it's on mine too.
Okay, excellent. Nice. If you haven't seen this movie, go watch it. It's kind of uncategorizable.
It's on Amazon Prime.
I'm not sure it's worth. I'm not sure it's a horror film, but oh, God, it is top notch. And then kind of number 4, Thanksgiving, which I just watched. I paid dearly through the pay-per-view because I missed it at the theater, but it's surprisingly good, and like. I love the outcome. All right. And then I have my last 3, I'm going to say, are tied for first. So those are
that's fine.
Godzilla Minus One, which was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Not just for the monster, but for the characters and the story. And I had tears at the end of the movie. When Evil Lurks, again, I'm a big fan, too, of, I think it's Damon Rugna.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Damien.
Terrified just totally freaked me out. It's like I still watch that. It just and then and an original story. I love when we have stories that are based on myths from other culture, and then tied for first there is The Fall of the House of Usher, which I thought was phenomenal.
Oh, yay. Okay, good job. Any honorable mentions?
Yes, and these are actually in alphabetical order.
Oh, dear. That many of them, huh? All right.
Appendage, which is a bit of body horror.
Oh, yes. I loved Appendage. I forgot about that one. Yes.
And Influencer, which is one that I don't know how high I was on it when we watched it, but it stuck. It has really stuck in my mind. Megan, another one, Mad Heidi.
Mad Heidi.
Oh, yeah.
Mad Heidi. That's a fun flick. And right along with Mad Heidi goes Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it. Yes.
Satanic Hispanic, which I know
that's on
best
my
anthology movie I saw this year. I'm going with Slasher Ripper too. With season
excellent.
5 of the Slasher, we gave that pretty high rankings, and I enjoyed the heck out of that. Suitable Flesh, which is just so much fun.
Oh, interesting.
A little difficult in some spots, but I just love the cast and the Lovecraft vibe. The Blackening, which I thought was hilarious. The Wrath of Becky, just because I'm a Becky fan.
Yep.
There you go.
And finally, Totally Killer.
Yes.
Of course. Yes.
Perfect. Great list. Great list. As
I
Jeff
can't believe I
mentioned-
forgot the blackening.
How dare
It was
you?
a long
Good
time
listen.
ago, though. That
I
was a
know.
while
I'm just. It's. I'm just getting out of
I
festival
was
mode. No,
dying.
yeah, that's
Well,
awesome.
and they played it.
I'm glad
so
someone
serious.
mentioned it.
I just died laughing at some of their lines. You know, the Ranger's name is B. White. I mean,
Oh, no. Crystal, you're up next. What is your top 10 of
This is
2023?
rough because it's interesting to see what everyone put. I'm just going to do my honorable mentions first.
Okay.
because, yeah. Honorable mentions, Satanic Hispanics. Obviously, that creature is mind blowing. Like, that thing was so beautiful. I just can't. And I think the stories were great. I think Efren did an amazing job. All of them flowed. It was great. Megan, I mean, for obvious reasons. I thought it was cute. I mean, I wasn't scared. I thought it was cute, and I think they did a great job at like making this girl feel like a robot. Slasher Ripper too. Fall of the House of Usher. I put the television shows there because I don't know. Felt weird about putting them in my top 10. No One Will Save You, as everyone's already talked about. And Appendage. Oh my gosh. Appendage is such a freaky movie. If you haven't seen Appendage, and I bet you lots of people out there haven't, it's literally like a basket case type movie. And it is so weird. And I love it. And I love Onyx the Fortuitous. Okay, now number 10, Influencer. Yeah, it made my top 10. Influencer is, I mean, we have a lot of social media films out there, but I feel like this one stands out compared to the rest. It's not as gory. It's very psychological thriller type, but I loved it. And I love the end. I love the end. Number 9. Yep, Renfield. I made my top 10.
Wow, nice.
I love Nicolas Cage. I love him. And if you watch Gruesome, you know I love him. And yeah, like Brian mentioned, when they did the shot with the light, oh my, I could not handle that. I couldn't handle that. He was fabulous. And did I believe Nicholas Hoult and Awkwafina's romance? No. Did I care? No. So there's that, you know. Number 8 is Legions. It's the Argentinian film that was released in the US this year. And it is about a shaman who starts having visions that he needs to save his daughter. We reviewed it on Gruesome, if y'all remember.
Yep.
I love this film. And actually what's funny is one of the guys in Legions is also in When Evil Lurks. They're both Argentinian films. So I have that on my list too. Number 7, Totally Killer. Yeah, I liked it that much.
Yes.
This movie is the epitome of 80s slasher, and I'm my mind is blown that it wasn't released at the theaters.
And
What a
science
disappointment. Yeah, it's so good. Like, this movie is hilarious. I think it's clever. Man, I love the way they made the mom. Yeah, Totally Killer. Number 6, Saw 10. Yes, I'm a huge Saw fan. And honestly, this is a departure from the other Saw films, but not in a bad way, in a great way. I love that we get to focus on Tobin Bell's John Kramer. And I love that this is like a revenge film and also a testing film. It's very interesting. Number 5, When Evil Lurks. I mean, I think When Evil Lurks is in everyone's top 10, another Argentinian film, which is fabulous. And I love the whole different take on the possession films and how it has an apocalyptic feel as well, which is great. Number 4, Freaks versus the Reich. Yes, it's an Italian film. This film is not as heavy on the horror, but still, it's still a horror. I mean, it's got the Reich in there, so therefore by default, it should be horror. But it's on Amazon Prime. I really suggest checking out the cinematography. It makes me think of Guillermo del Toro. It's beautiful. It's just so beautiful. Number 3 is Thanksgiving. Yep. I love Eli Roth. And while I was expecting this to be more gory, it wasn't. But for you people out there that don't like gore, you're going to be like, what? What's wrong with her? Because there's a ton of gore. So if you don't like horror, you won't like this film. This is the perfect Thanksgiving slasher for me. I'm so excited for the next film. I can't wait. I hope it doesn't take him long to make it because it's going to be good, y'all. John Carver. Number 2 is Talk to Me.
For dinner? I'm sorry.
Talk to me.
Yeah. Talk to Me, which, I mean, isn't everyone talking about Talk to Me? I mean, who thought the Raka brothers, 2 YouTubers, could make such a phenomenal film? I think the acting is freaking phenomenal. I love how they made this whole different possession idea and all these rules, and they don't shove it down your throat. You have to actually kind of think through. I mean, they did a phenomenal job. That movie is actually scary. It has some amazing transitions. And number 1 is Evil Dead Rise. Yep. That was my number 1. It was my favorite film. Yeah, it was my favorite film this year. I didn't know for sure that it was going to be at the top, but I knew I loved it, and then I rewatched it again. And honestly, every time I watch it, I think I like it more and more. So there we go.
There we go. Very good list. Very good list.
Thanks. Yep.
Christopher G. Mohr, you're up next. This should be fun. What's your top 10 for 2023?
Okay, first of all, I didn't really feel it's fair to throw TV shows into the movies.
Yeah,
So I
that's
did
hard.
my 4 favorite TV shows, which are Last of Us, The Fall of the House of Usher,
Oh God, The Last of Us.
What We Do in the Shadows, and Halloween Baking Championship.
I can't believe I forgot The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't put Naked Attraction in there, though. So.
That's a
that is
different
horrifying.
horror that I
Yeah.
didn't ever see again. My honorable mentions, I will say Megan and Renfield almost made my top 10. I think with Megan, to have a film that takes the doll concept and creates its own sort of fun, campy thing about it is just brilliant. Renfield, Nicolas Cage deserves an Oscar for his performance in this film. And it's sad that more people aren't giving him. I mean, people always look at him as the crazy person or wacky person, but I think in this, he's acting his ass off and doing a really great new version of Dracula. Believe it or not, Saw X is in my honorable mentions. I never thought I'd say it about a Saw film. I'm not a fan of the Saw films in general, but I think this is the first one this is the year where they take concepts. I think, how are you going to make a good film out of this? And they make it. Barbie, Saw, and another film that'll probably show up in my top 10. When Evil Lurks, that had some really moments that are very memorable that you will not forget. No One Will Save You, a great film that's visually really interesting, and the whole aliens trying to take you and stuff. I think they did a really great job of that. And it fits almost like a Tim Burton-esque and elements of it. Also, when it comes to documentaries, King on Screen and Living with Chucky, 2 really great documentaries about horror stuff. Of course, Mad Heidi, the best Swissploitation film ever made. So much fun. The Wrath of Becky. Let's see. Cocaine Bear, which I now have on Blu-ray, so I can watch it whenever I want to.
Oh, God.
I know Doc doesn't like it, but Kids versus Aliens. I really enjoyed the hell out of that. The Blackening, which I thought was really fun, and I know that they're supposedly making a sequel to it, so I can't wait because I thought it was very entertaining. And Influencer, I thought was it's really hard to make a good film about influencers that doesn't look stupid, and that's one of the few films where it's like, oh, I could see them actually doing that. Getting to my top 10, number 10, Satanic Hispanics.
Yay!
I love a good anthology, and I think this has so many weird and interesting. Even the wraparound is just as good as the regular segments. And there's segments that are pure wacky horror to comedic to action. I mean, it covers so many different things told from different perspectives, and I think it's a really memorable anthology for this year. Number 9, never thought I'd have an Eli Roth film in my top 10, but Thanksgiving, I think we need more just sort of fun, over the top, entertaining slasher films, and especially holiday themed. I think this is the first time where he actually took it, and he took all these things some of it we associate with Thanksgiving and made kills around it. So I thought that was really great and very entertaining. Number 8 which is kind of sad. I wish it'd done better at the box office. The Voyage of the Demeter. I think that to get a scary vampire film that's a period piece, and you'd never know that was all shot on a set. They weren't actually on the ocean or anything. And the design of Dracula is just primo, and acting's great. It's visually shot really well, and it has it's very suspenseful. And I'm really sad that it didn't do so well at the box office, because I'd love to see a sequel to this based on how it ends. Number 7, I love me some horror comedies, so Totally Killer. Yay! And if it's 80s oriented,
the same thought as me
you already took my money if it's 80s oriented. So have an 80s oriented slasher with a really cool killer mask and really funny dialogue that, every time I watch it, it's just hilarious. So, and anytime a film can tell me like, I wish I'd made it,
yeah,
it's going to be in my top 10. Number 6, I think it's good to not always be regular fictional movies, but I think Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares, the Robert Englund story. I'd love to put that documentary, because I think it's one of my favorite documentaries of the year, just based on it sort of telling elements of Robert Englund's life that weren't so specifically stuff you've seen on behind the scenes stuff that we've seen a million times. As someone who's lifelong fan of Nightmare on Elm Street, I know about every kind of stories that's been told, and I learned a lot about him that I didn't know in this. And I think the little animated things in between, I think really helps it to be even more entertaining. Number 5, Freaks versus the Reich.
Yay!
This is the best Del Toro film that he didn't make.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a great description.
And it's visually fantastical and wonderful and emotional and it's just you have these sort of freaks, that you care about, and you really want them to succeed and fight against these evil people. So it's a really great film. I think that more people didn't need to watch, and even though it's a foreign film, maybe more people need to watch it, because I think they will enjoy it. Number 4, again, I love me some good horror comedies, and if it's 80s oriented, and it's in the way they approach things, and if it has lots of practical effects, I'm going to love it. Onyx of Fortuitous, Talisman and Souls. My Blu-ray is coming tomorrow, so I can't wait to peruse it. Andrew Bowser, who wrote it, directed, starred in it. This film is hilarious. It's got, some really great roles. What's his name
Jeffrey
from
Combs.
Reanimator? Jeffrey Combs is
Jeffrey
amazing.
Combs.
Is one of the best villains. One of the best roles he's had in a very long time. Robert Hampton has a small role in it. And this, I've been, all the special effects are all practical, and it's chef's kiss. It's beautiful. Again, a film that I wish I directed. Number 3, Talk to Me.
Yay.
Which I have on Blu-ray, and I have the hand now. I should have brought it out here. To sort of take the sort of like elements that we sort of see in supernatural films, like possession and a little bit of hint of Evil Dead, and a little bit of almost like a new version of the Ouija board to some degree, and put a new spin on it that hasn't been really done before, is really genius. And I think this film is shot very kinetically. It's got a lot of cool, it's got really great performances in it. And it's got shocking moments in it that my jaw, I was like, oh my God, what just happened there? Or kids are in peril and stuff. So, and then it has a great ending to it. I think, for these two young brothers come in and make this film, it makes me really interested to see what they make next, because this being their first film, it makes me nervous when I make my first full-length feature, because I don't think it'll be anything as good as this. So really great film. Okay, well, I will say number 2 and 1. This one almost made number 1, but Godzilla Minus One. Godzilla Minus One is number 2. Godzilla Minus One, or plus 1, I guess. Again, like I mentioned before, I never thought we could make a really good Barbie movie. I never thought we could make a really good Saw film, and now I never thought we can make a Godzilla film that doesn't feel. It feels like a whole new way of telling that story that that's entertaining, that's where the human characters you actually enjoy and you care about, where Godzilla isn't this character that we really kind of like, care about. He's the Jason Voorhees of this universe. And if you can imagine if Jason Voorhees was like as tall as buildings, how horrible that would be. He's mean. He's got resting bitch face the whole film. And it's like, what is, and it's like, and there's a scene in it that's straight out of Jaws, but a new version of Jaws. And this really does not deserve to be as good as it is. And I've seen it twice in the theater, and I cried both times. It's a film that made me cry as well. So kudos to the director. I want him. He's talked about wanting to make another film, a Godzilla film. He's also mentioned, hey, I'd love to make a Star Wars film. Give him all the money. Okay, and for anyone who knows what I like,
of course,
you probably know what my number one is. Which I'm using the cheese grater. Sure. Evil Dead Rise is my favorite film. I now have a blanket on my couch just from it. I've seen it several times in the theater. I own it on Blu-ray, and I think to take something that all these movies that we've made that they've made over the years in regards to Evil Dead, and to sort of take that, put it in a new arena, a new place, and to make it visually feel elements of Sam Raimi, but also take it in some new directions. It's beautifully shot, well acted, but also it has that twisted, fun energy that the Sam Raimi films give you. And I think that's one thing that I felt a little bit missing from 2013. It didn't feel fun. This feels like the morbid fun that I enjoy when it comes to Evil Dead films. And it's one of the few films where I'm like, okay, I'd love to see this person make more films in this universe. Mm-hmm. And it has one of the greatest opening title shots in the last 10 years, in my opinion. So anyway, Evil Dead Rise is my favorite film of 2023.
All right. Well, you all go sleep now. All right. Here we go for my top 10. Some will be obvious, some will be surprises. Some may embarrass me. We'll start off at number 10, and I chose. Now, before I reveal this one, sometimes I will choose a film, elevate the film, because of the experience of watching the film. As much as how good the film is. Is it enjoyable? Do you enjoy the movie?
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Right. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh my gosh, though. I don't have to talk to you ever again.
I had such a great time with this movie, and I was not expecting.
Was the fort building your favorite, Doc? That was.
Well, that was the fort building. I remember that. But I saw it with my son. My son was a big Five Nights at Freddy's fan, so it was just a great experience, and I was surprised by it. I enjoyed the creatures. The practical effects for the animatronics and our little special creature at the end, and I thought Emma Tammy did a great job. And of course, what is it, Crystal?
You're a Blumhouse, so you're a Blum humper. You're a Blum humper. You're humping that Blum. That sounds gross.
Feels like it might come up again on my list, but there you go. I thought that was a bit of a surprise. At number 9, also was a surprise that I actually squeaked this into it. Had I known about another film and realized it probably would have fallen out. But Scream 6. I enjoyed it. I liked it. The change of location. I liked the characters. I liked. I don't know. I just enjoyed it. And again, like Brian was saying, that beginning was fun and stars an actress I really like. So it was just. I thought it continued the storyline wonderfully and had some fun kills and goofy things at the end, and that's what you want, right? You want those weird, stupid twists at the end. Hey, it's not that person, it's this person, and that's what you want out of a Scream movie. So we'll see if 7 can keep it up or even happens at this point. At number 8, this one surprised me. Satanic Hispanics. And I just enjoyed all the stories. They're diverse yet, what's the right word? They belong together, right? It felt
Cohesive.
like a whole cohesive. That's the word. And the creature at the end was fabulous, and it had surprises. It had a really interesting story tying it all together. That led to the creature. So I put it on there. I don't know if I scored it that high when we watched it, but it just stuck with me. And I think, Jeff, you mentioned that sometimes a movie, if it sticks with you, it kind of becomes a better movie over time. And which is, historically, there's a lot of films you can say that about. So that happened. Number 7 is yet another slasher film, Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And it just did what a slasher movie should do, and it did it very creatively and very enjoyable. It had a great cast. It had surprises. It had great kills. So there you go. I mean, Eli Roth made it. Yay! Number 6, When Evil Lurks. Just did some things I wasn't expecting a horror movie to do. There are some scenes in here that are just like, holy crap, did that just happen? And it was, again, it did just really neat things with the subgenre and, kind of called back to bleak endings. But anyway, I liked it. Number 5 is probably one of my favorite alien invasion films of recent times, is No One Will Save You. Mainly because of the lead actress, and not a lot of dialogue, if any. There was one line, right? And there was a reason for it, and I really liked that. It just really had a lot. There was, a variety of creatures and effects in it, and it won me over. And it's one of those films that debuted on Hulu and should have been in the theaters. This movie should have been in the theaters.
Can I say one thing about that film too? I'll say, shockingly, the CGI it's like the only film I think I've ever watched that I was like, I accept this CGI. This is good. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Especially like when that creature.
The tall alien.
So there's a lot of fun in them. I just really okay. So the top 4, I think, are named. Not going to surprise anybody. Maybe the order. Maybe not. Number 4 is Talk to Me. I finally got to see it. I didn't get to see it when it came out, and I love its originality. I love the cast. I love what it did. I'm not as big a fan of the ending of it as much as other people are, but at the same time, I just thought I think just to bring new stuff to the table so well and so effectively. Put it up there for me. So it's one that got higher on the list for me personally because of how good it is, rather than the experience, like Five Nights, right? Number 3 is Evil Dead Rise, which is just a lovely, gory film. They did just so many great lines in it, so many and shocking things that you don't expect to see. Kind of like where Evil Lurks, you wouldn't think that some characters would be in as much danger as they end up being in. Whoa! And it really was effective, and I really like that we now have a new direction for the Evil Dead films, and I'm hoping we get more. Number 2, Crystal, you can say it now. What am I?
Yum Humper.
That's right. Megan is number 2.
Megan was good for you. That's awesome.
Love this movie.
That's great.
I just had a great time with it. I mean, they create an iconic character. I mean, Megan is going to be a character that people, and the just the way they marketed it and the way they did with the character, the Megan character dancing all over the place or in groups of them. It pulled its punches because of the PG-13, but at the same time, it hit a sweet spot for me. And of course, I will admit bias for Blumhouse, so it got higher than maybe it should have. But for me, it's just the character. I just really liked what they did. They really created this Megan character that had everything that it did made sense. It just made sense,
Yep.
and it was. And I'm looking forward to Megan 2.0 in 2025. And number one is Godzilla Minus One.
Of course, yeah. I should've
And this movie blew me away. It blew me away. I knew I wanted to see it because I like all the Godzilla movies, but this one is, I think, Christopher, you hinted at this. It's where the characters matter in this movie. A lot of times you just want to see Godzilla smash, right, or fight other monsters.
Mhm.
This one, it's the characters, and holy crap, it beat me up. It beat me up. It really was emotional. I didn't want the characters to die, which is rare for a Godzilla movie.
Mhm.
So rare that I think it's this movie. It really did a great job of Godzilla itself, and the power. The not the power. That's not the right word, but just the presence that it has. And then of course what it means when he fires off the breath. And the way it blows up, it just means something a little bit different than it has in the past. Even probably since the first movie back in the 50s, right? They really did a great job, and doing it as a period piece had me concerned going in, learning about the movie. As soon as you heard all the reviews, it started fading fast, but then seeing it was like, that's the best choice ever. It really made a lot of sense. Love the film. One of the things is that if you take one thing you can always say, if you take a horror film and you take the horror out of it, and it's still a great movie.
It works, yeah.
Boom. And I think this one does that as much as any film has, horror film has in recent years. Really, I call kaiju films a horror film with big monsters.
Mhm.
It is to me too. I agree. Yeah, 100.
There's a couple movies that could have made the list, but I didn't get to see them. I didn't get to see as many movies this summer as I normally do. I didn't get to see Solid X. I didn't get to see Last Voyage of Demeter. I didn't get a chance to get Rebirth on my schedule, even though it's playing on Shudder. I just had to watch other films. We watched so many films. I just couldn't squeeze it in. Now, my honorable mentions are, and these two were on the list as a pair, and I kind of looked back at the 20, before our discussion, Crystal, the 21, 22 versus 23 thing, and I dropped them down to honorable mention, but they were a pair, Mad Heidi and Freaks versus the Reich. They are, each one in and of themselves are great films for entirely different reasons. But I would recommend either. Totally Killer was on the list at one point. That's another one that went straight to. That one went
Amazon? Is it Amazon?
Amazon.
Amazon,
I think it's
yeah.
Amazon.
And
Amazon
it could have been a theatrical release. Either.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed Knock at the Door, the M. Night Shyamalan.
Knock at the Cabin?
Knock at the Cabin. Yeah, Knock at the Cabin. Excuse me. Sorry. Thank you for correcting me.
No,
Knock at the Cabin.
I'm sorry. I just
No, I totally foobarred on that. Knock at the Door. No. That was years ago. No good. Knock at the Cabin. And I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid film, but it just didn't make my list. And then totally overlooked this movie until it was mentioned tonight, and it might have made the list, was Onyx. That movie is just so damn funny.
honestly,
but
it
I
was
totally
just a little,
forgot about it.
It probably should have been on my top 10 too, because it's so good. I gave it a 5, but it was almost so funny that I just felt it wasn't as horror as
You
it
should-
be,
you
even
should-
though it is.
The director, he's been releasing these promo videos about it, and where he's like making fun of different things. He has ones where he's like in a saw trap, and and he always picks the way he hurts himself instead of like saying that like you can either pick this, or you pick cutting your arm off, or say The Crow is not the best goth movie ever made. He's like, and before they can get an answer, he cuts his arm off. It's really. Yeah, you need to go watch it, because he actually inserts his character into different horror movies to promote it, which just makes me enjoy the movie. But I get the I pre-ordered the Blu-ray and I'm getting it tomorrow, and supposedly it's got all kinds of special features. But it's such a fun film. If you get to see
You better
it.
not.
It's on
Jeff better
Screenbox
not hear
right now.
that.
It's on Screenbox.
Yeah. But there's a number of, I could go on. There's
a lot.
If we could do, I think I don't know who did it, but somebody mentioned like 20 films. I could have done it too. It was easy.
Yeah, and there's even been films.
Alphabetical. That was Jeff, right? Alphabetical.
I usually have a list of like 25 or so.
Well, and there's been films that have been released just in the last week or so.
Yeah.
Before there's like a full car film that the director was on a podcast recently. I was like, oh, and I was gonna watch it before to see if it would make it. So yeah. But yeah, there's so many good films, and there's never enough time in the day to get everything watched. So,
yeah, I think I've got to go watch Legions, Crystal. I think that was when I was traveling.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I just was looking through pictures of it, and I didn't.
Well, Legions also is the best, one of the best non-Evil Dead films.
Yes, it's very
That has Evil Dead in it. There's an Evil Dead moment that's just.
It's funny.
That has amazing effects.
It does.
You'll like it, Jeff. I think you'll like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah. And of course, this year just had so much content. I mean, there was so much to cover. Streaming has blown up this past year or so, and between Screenbox and Shudder and just VOD itself, the amount of content and good
what was
content.
What was everyone's worst movie for the year?
I'm not playing that game.
Well, we're doing one for the 70s tonight.
That's my favorite. I'm like, tell me what you don't like. That's funny.
For me, there weren't too many that were dead awful films.
Oh my God, there were so many awful films. This was
I think
2023 was not 2022. Okay. It was not.
I'd rather just focus on the positive.
Just focus on the positive.
I know. There's one movie that's on your list that I.
Well, if you went to DragonCon and you watched our films of 2023,
Skinamarink. Oh no.
You know what I don't like.
I mean,
I thought about putting it on. I've been meaning to rewatch it for a long time, and I just haven't got to it.
Well,
I liked Skinamarink, but I think I'm the only one here that did.
I didn't dislike it. I just left the theater in a huff. That's all.
That's telling.
I hate those.
Oh well, let me tell you. I mean, come on, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Yeah.
Come on.
Everybody's quiet. I haven't seen it. I didn't watch it.
You haven't
I did
seen
watch
it?
it.
Don't.
I did
I'm
watch it.
serious. Like, Christopher warned me. He was like, don't do it. It's not worth it. And I was like, well, I got to check it out for myself. Literally, I never want to turn off a film. And yet,
You want to turn that one off?
I was very close. I was like, I just got to get through it. I'm not kidding. Like, he wasn't kidding when he said it. He underplayed the badness.
So you're like,
it's not, real
I'm
bad.
sure you can't wait for the sequel that he's working on.
Oh, that's right.
Really?
There's a sequel coming.
Lord.
That was clearly the worst horror movie of 2023.
Oh my!
Like, easily. Like, there's no question. Like, that's not even a question in my brain.
I was Slaughterhouse. I haven't seen that
It
one
was
yet.
not
Oh,
good.
yes.
It's on my
wasn't
worst
good.
list.
Wasn't good. Oh, I missed that one too. I didn't get to see.
All right.
All right. Well, there you go. That's
The concept is better than the execution.
Oh,
Yeah,
there you
the
go.
trailer's better than the movie.
that happens often, doesn't it? That's our best of 2023. Our top tens. So we got a 50 count all mixed together. Couple films blended in there. It'll be interesting. I'll have to give these off to Jeff so he can do his little calculations, which we'll bring back in a week or so. Of which one?
I've been writing down the ones I didn't have on my list.
Yeah, there we go.
I think the only one I hadn't seen is Legions. So.
But I want to thank my crew for joining me tonight for this. This is what I look for every year. Brian, thanks for joining. Crystal,
Yeah, Brian.
Jeff, Christopher,
Woo-woo.
thank you.
Hey, upcoming. Thank you.
Yes, and of course the next episode. Go ahead, say.
I was going to say happy holidays and New Year, but
yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
did.
Happy holidays. and New Year,
Absolutely,
too.
absolutely. Speaking of New Year, for our next episode, we're going to be doing the most anticipated for 2024.
Oh. That's easy.
And is it though? Is it?
Yeah.
Blood and Honey too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's going to be a strange year. It's going to be a very strange year.
I mean, there's
Did
going
you
to
see
be
that?
lots of good stuff.
Did you see that post from Fangoria? I guess they retweeted like I guess Disney is losing the rights to like the original Mickey Mouse, and they were like, "Don't you dare! Don't you dare!"
No,
do it."
you know it's going to happen. Yeah, it's going into public domain, right? So,
Yeah.
Well, they do trademark other things, so
yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, well there you go. Please leave your list down below. We'd love to hear what you think and what was your top 10, and what did you think of ours? You can blast us all if you like. It's fine. It's fine.
Bring it. I'm ready.
All right, as Brian said, have happy holidays and happy New Year. Let's get out of here. Let's say good night.
good night.
Good night, everybody.
Gruesome Magazine.